Hey, good afternoon everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to make fried rice. I'm doing this recipe today because I had a question from someone I know about why their fried rice never turns out. And I asked them how they made it, and the answer was quite simple. Once you know how, they were using freshly cooked rice. And the answer to fried rice is using cold leftover rice, which I've got here. And I will measure this for you in a bit. But I basically use just what's ever left from before. Now, you can make this with meat, you can make it with chicken, you can make it with seafood. Today I'm just doing a vegetable one for ease of preparation. And I've got an onion and some shiitake mushrooms. Now, if you've never seen these things or you walked by them in the import aisle and wondered what you're supposed to do with them, you do have to soak them. They are dried. And they seem expensive in the store, but when you consider that I don't even know how many mushrooms are in this bag, and I just opened it last night and took out like 6, it lasts a really long time. Because you're ever only going to use 5 or 6 of these per recipe, so it is worth the investment. And I got some frozen peas and a can of baby corn. Now, if you're going to use the baby corn for fried rice, I recommend you get the whole cobs as opposed to the pieces, because you are going to chop it up and it's a lot easier to do with these. And 3 eggs. Now for these, I don't boil a kettle. I just get some really, really hot tap water because you may want to change it more than once. And if you're using kettle water, you have to let it down. You have to let it cool down way too much. So I'm just going to pick out 6 what look like nice ones. You are going to be discarding the stems on these. Once you picked your mushrooms, put them cap down in the water and submerge them so the water gets into the gills. Now, that's another reason you don't want to be using kettle water, because you won't be able to touch it. And once you're satisfied that the gills are nice and soaked, turn them over and just let them go for 15 minutes or so. And you may need to rinse these more than once and squeeze them, because you want them nice and soft before you chop them up. Next, I measure out about 2 cups of frozen peas. And these I do defrost in warm to hot water. If you're defrosting meat, you should always defrost it in cold water. But vegetables are okay to do this. And as I said previously, I never actually measure the rice. I will for this, just for your benefit and also to actually know how much I put in. Because being vegetable fried rice, this does keep in the fridge once cooked. And you can either heat it up again with a bit of meat or seafood, or you can just reheat it in the microwave for lunches. Now for the vegetable one, yeah, you can keep it for a couple of days. If you're going to be using meat, I definitely would use it the next day. And reheating seafood, that's sketchy, and I generally don't as a rule. Now, you're not going to get this absolutely compacted, but just eyeballing it, it looks to be approximately 6 cups of cooked rice. Peel and chop the onion. Next is chop the baby corn. One note here, these are packed in brine, so it's important that you rinse them quite well under the top before chopping them up. These are all rinsed. Now what I do is just pour water in here and then turn it upside down in the sink a few times to get the excess salt out. These, you do not want to empty the whole can on the cutting board. It'll just go everywhere. Just pull out a few to start. Line them up, and you want to slice these fairly thin so they make these nice looking little discs here that are going to fry well in the pan. Corn's all chopped. Time to take a look at the mushrooms. These are starting to puff up quite nicely. Now you test them is kind of grab the back and push. And if they're completely soft, so, see, they will rehydrate at different rates. This one is completely ready to go. This one is sort of halfway there. This one's still pretty tough. This one is just, I picked the wrong mushroom, okay? And you can tell because it's just not bending at all. So this will delay things for a bit. What I'll do now is squeeze out the water that I can and rinse them again and put in some more hot water. Now, considering they're nearly ready to go by the time I finished all the chopping, it's not too bad. And depending how rushed you are for supper, and if no one's looking, you can always sacrifice a bad mushroom, because guess what? Every once in a while you will get a bad mushroom in here that simply will not rehydrate no matter what you do. But let's give it one more shot. I gave it another 15 minutes or so, and where's that trouble mushroom? It's here. It's not perfect, but it's better than it was, so I'm just going to start chopping. First thing to do is drain these, or you can just squeeze them right here. And give them another rinse if you want. They may look lovely all puffed up, but don't think of cutting them that way. You'll just get a mess. They don't look nice this way, but they cut the best. After you've squeezed all the water out of them, kind of hold back the caps like this and cut off the stems. The stems are always discarded. Once all the stems are off, just line one up and start slicing it into thin slices. If this was a stir fry, I would put them in as is, but because I'm doing a fried rice, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to cross chop them into little pieces that are sort of about the same size as the corn. And now that's all done. Last thing to do is drain the peas and then get cooking. Just set a frying pan over medium heat, or medium high heat, not too high because it's non-stick. Now, the amount of oil used is to taste. I put the least I need because I don't like greasy fried rice. If you do, feel free to add more. Couple, 2-3 tablespoons should be enough for the entire dish. I always start with the onions because they take the longest to cook. Now you can make this in a wok. I am using my non-stick skillet here to show you that you can come out with an equally good fried rice without having fancy kitchen equipment that not everybody may be able to get their hands on. Couple of words about this recipe. Stuff never comes out. You only do additions, so it will take a little bit of practice to get your cooking right. If you're a brand new cook and you got things just the way you want, by all means take the onions out of the pan if you think they're going to burn, or if they've started to burn a little, and then you can put them back in later. But if you're experienced, you can just keep going like I am. And speaking of order of ingredients, if you were going to put, let's say, chicken in this, you would start the chicken and get it cooked before the onions. And if you're going to be putting shrimp in this, for example, what you would do is you would cook everything, including the rice, and put the shrimp in at the end, and just keep an eye on it and cook them just until they were pink and, you know, lovely and not overcooked. But that's looking just good. So the next thing is the mushrooms. This is not really a fussy recipe anyway. What I was saying at the beginning is once you've got this cooked, because there is no meat in it, it's kind of midday. I wanted to shoot this while the light was still out. I'm not even going to be eating this until later, or maybe even tomorrow. Yeah, that one's looking good, so the corn can go in too. If you don't have a 14-inch skillet or a wok, my next suggestion for cookware is either a 5-quart Dutch oven if you've got it, and lacking that, you can always just use a big pot, provided you can see to the bottom to stir it. Once that starts sizzling up and you can see a few brown bits in there, and I'll just zoom in on that right there so you can see what I'm talking about. Once you get to that stage is when you want to add your eggs. And to do that, you make a little well in the middle. One mistake I've seen with fried rice is that eggs are being added to the dish after the rice is in. What you'll end up doing with that is usually getting half-cooked eggs that are simply coating the rice instead of those nice chunks and little crispy bits that you will see at the restaurant. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch this is restaurant quality. I know it's not. The reason I'm doing it like this is just to show you that you can do this in your own home very easily, and it may not look the same as a restaurant, but it will taste just as good. Just break up the yolks and be patient and wait a little bit. And if anybody's wondering when I'm going to add the soy sauce, I'm not. Right now, as is, even with the rice, this is a low sodium or nearly no sodium dish, which is good. Now, you can also add soy sauce to this, though I advocate caution, do it at the end and do it to taste, because soy sauce, like any other seasoning, if you put too much, you can't take it out after, but you can always put it in at the end or whenever you want. So, see how that's doing? You want to kind of try to keep these in a little group here. They will mix up with the vegetables a bit, not to worry. And you don't want to let them go too long at this stage because, as you'll notice already here, you're getting that kind of cooked omelet thing happening. Now you want a few flecks of that through the dish, yes, but not this early. So, stir it up again, break it up a bit. When the eggs are still sloppy and chunky, just like that, looking nice, nearly cooked but not quite, that is when you mix it up with the vegetables, and then you add your rice. And, well, it's the cup today, usually it's a container. Just drop that in. Again, you will read recipes that say you got to get a couple of tablespoons of water and then you got to break it up each grain. Sure you can. It's a lot of work. It's not actually necessary. And one other thing is that, like soy sauce, water is hard to get out of here if you put in too much. If it gets too dry, you can always add a sprinkle, but there's a considerable amount of water in the vegetables, and there's still some left in the rice. So how I get around that problem is I just break this up into large clumps with the tongs, or if you're using a spatula, go ahead, do that. And then what I do is get a big piece of tin foil, turn the heat down to medium, and use that to help steam it. And when I mean big, I mean big. This is a 45 centimeter wide roll that I buy at a kitchen supply place. And of course, if you can't get your hands on this, just use 2 pieces of regular sized tin foil. It's been a few minutes, so I'll just take the lid off. You can see condensation starting to form on the foil. I'll just set that aside anywhere. And you'll see even after a couple of minutes, all those clumps of rice are starting to break up into grains. And it didn't take that long. So now is when you want to start mixing it up. And you can see those delightful brown bits on the bottom. Now by mixing it up into the main body of the rice right now, it does two things. It helps to mix it up, heat it up, and also make sure that all of your non-rice components are not burning at the bottom. And this way you will also get some browning on the rice. This is a matter of taste. Some people like their fried rice quite moist, some people like crunchy bits. Once you know how to do this, you can basically make it any way you like. And if you are planning to reheat this like I am, do not cook it too long because it'll obviously get more cooked and a little tougher the second go, especially if you're going to be doing it in a frying pan. It usually comes out fine in the microwave, and if it is a little dry, just put a little bit of water on it, like a tablespoon or so. A couple of minutes more to get the last clumps out, and then it's ready. And it's smelling toasty, so I'm going to take the foil off and have a look at it. Now I'll just pick up a piece of egg and stick it in the middle there, so you can have a look at it. This is the kind of the degree of doneness you're looking for. You don't want to really go higher than that, because if you are, it's going to burn. And I'll just get a piece of corn I found, stick it next to that, so you can see that that's what you're looking for the vegetables for toastiness as well. So just give it one more little good stir here, then take it off the heat, let it cool down, and then put it in the fridge to cook with later. And if you've gotten to this point with a vegetable fried rice and you did want to put some chicken or some shrimp in it after, what you can always do is just briefly cook it in a little pan on the side and then mix it in at the last minute. So there's the finished product. This is how I make fried rice. I hope you give it a shot. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again.